who he is as a human being, even more of a middle finger to that guy. On the New Japan side of things, we got some new champions. Andrade El Idolo wins the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship, and Will Ospreay and United Empire now holding the six-man never open weight titles. So hey, one of the things that you should do if you are not cleared to medically compete is go to another company and then win a championship. And then they'll pop up on Dynamite and go, well, I mean, since you did that, you might as well have, you might be medically cleared. These are good things. The partnership with New Japan and AEW is, of course, like a pretty strong bond at this point. And if they are going to showcase their championships over on the Dynamite and Collision side of things, it's a positive for New Japan. You get some new stars to pop up here and there and wrestle some interesting matches in the New Japan side of things, boost their stock a little bit. Andrade's great in the ring. Will Ospreay, of course, is Will Ospreay. So it's like, here's a win-win scenario. I would say I would not have anticipated at the beginning of this year with the push that they did for Yota Tsuji that it would be like, all right, by May, he's lost both of those titles.
You haven't been watching New Japan for very long then.
I absolutely haven't.
No, it's surprisingly not uncommon for this sort of thing to happen for somebody to lose their titles in quite early fashion in many people's eyes. I think that what they're doing with the main thing, the global championship is kind of like less important than the world title, obviously, because it's the secondary belt. So, and the whole thing surrounding the belt, or at least from Sugi's perspective, was that he'd only defend it against people who were outside of New Japan. So he's dropped it now to Andrade, and we'll see how they approach it with Andrade. He's going to defend it often on AEW TV. He's going to defend it against New Japan people and continue that approach to the title. We'll have to just wait and see what he does with it. But it's obviously cool to see him in a title because he's been great since rejoining AEW, and so you can see that rewarded. And he has history in New Japan as well, so it's not like it's a just complete outsider to the promotion coming in. He's someone who has worked in New Japan in the past, winning titles, so there's some element of familiarity there, in the same way that Will Ospreay winning the Never Open Weight title because of his long history in New Japan as well. The main thing with Yosuji is like the world title, and the fact that the reason why I put it on Callum Newman, to my belief, also I don't know this for certain because I'm not an insider, but my perspective would be that Callum Newman is being presented as like top heel in the company, and they basically needed that top billing group to be established, especially with House of Torture kind of losing a lot of their star power with Evil leaving the company. They needed a new top heel group, and Callum Newman is the leader of United Empire now, and so I think they basically used that to elevate him to be a good foil for Yosuji and Yu Uemura and Shota Umino on the other side. So that's kind of means the end, and Callum Newman defended his title against Shingo Takagi in the main event of the second night of the Wrestling Dontaku show. As would be expected, I mean, that's what Shingo Takagi is now. He's kind of like the default first challenger. You know, they went for a period of time where like Kane or someone was like the default first challenger for any title challenger. That's kind of that's what Shingo is now for New Japan. And they did something interesting at the end of the show where they had Shingo and Yosuji come out to basically. Essentially, being able to Takagi afterwards, Yosuji came out to try and save him. They took Shingo and Yosuji out, and then Callum Newman ordered Will Ospreay to take out Suji with Shingo actually with the hidden blade afterwards. And Will Ospreay was very reluctant to do so because he thought that there wasn't any real point to doing it. So again, they're pushing that narrative of Newman being the like kind of despotic heel champion of the United Empire, and Ospreay being like reluctantly forced as one of his stablemates to do his bidding for him. So yeah, that's leading into the inevitable match between those two somewhere in the next year plus. But yeah, I can't remember what other stuff kind of been laid out for. I think I remember seeing that Takeshita joined the kind of like the big babyface faction of like, you know, just standard New Japan guys in the company. So obviously that's kind of at odds with him being on the heel faction with the Don Callis family, and we'll talk about that when we get around to like AEW talk. But yeah, it's quite interesting that he's definitively joined the babyface side of New Japan. I don't think there's anything else like super necessary that we need to talk about from both shows, but yeah, it's cool to see Andrade win a title. And I will say that even though I think it's a bit overdrawn, what some people say about the relationship between New Japan and AEW, I do still think it's interesting we get to see a New Japan guy holding an AEW title. But we've seen plenty of AEW guys holding New Japan titles.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I never liked the similarities with like the WWE and AEW practices, and one of those overlaps seems to be in the working relationships.
I will say though, it's not like the equivalent in terms of like what with WWE and AAA would be a case that JD Drake has won the global championship for New Japan as opposed to Andrade. At least their champions are of a certain caliber compared to what TNA is given from WWE.
Well, I would say that AAA is treated a little more fairly with, you know, Dom. I would say Dom is right about the level of, at least booking wise, of an Andrade.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, he's a prominent star, Intercontinental champion at the same time for a bit there. But then, you know, when it gets to start other people, then it's a different story. Here's the topic we were talking about earlier for a split second, where I mentioned it, but, you know, we'll come back around to it. Chelsea Green underwent some surgery to treat supraventricular tachycardia, as everybody, you know, is fully aware. So it seems like this is an issue that she's been dealing with for like her entire life, or at least for a while, and it's, you know, something associated with having like an irregular heart rate going up and spiking and everything. So right after she is stepping up and being able to, you know, potentially fight for that Women's United States Championship, she has this going on, but it seems like it's something that she needed to get corrected for a while, and, you know, that's never a bad thing. So I'm curious when we're going to see her back in the ring, or if this is going to influence anything or fix anything, make anything more difficult in the future and all. I want Chelsea Green to succeed like crazy. I really would love to see a scenario where Chelsea wins either the Women's World Championship or the WWE Women's Championship. My preference would be the WWE Women's Championship because I think that matters more. But I haven't seen anything that specifies exactly when her like return table is supposed to be. Have you guys come across anything like that?
She's got another week of bed rest, and then she'll take it from there.
Could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, when you find this out, and again, not knowing anything about this, like, learning that she does the thing she does with heart condition makes me respect her all that much more. Like, taking ladder bumps and shit when you've got regular heartbeat that can spike at any point. Like, that's that's really cool that she does the thing she does, and I'm glad that she's healthy, and I'm glad that it seems to be it was a low, minimally invasive procedure, and I'm glad she's all right.
Always good to hear that somebody fixes something as opposed to somebody comes across something else, but that's a problem. Yeah. Looking through, see if there's any other random things we can talk about before we get into some of the more TV things, but not really coming across much. We did talk about some of the TV things already when it comes to the Backlash side of things, so go back and check that out. But a lot of the TV stuff, as per usual, really not all that much to talk about. When it comes to Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, it seems like Perez has made her choice. She is not pro Finn Balor after she cost him his match with JD McDonough. So that kind of puts the end of that feud to me. It's 1 week of, I gotta do something with that, and then just, no, I guess not. We got the same people feuding for the Intercontinental Championship. We got the Sol Ruka situation. She unfortunately botches her finisher in her big segment, but they edited that out, and nobody's going to remember that. Obafemi had his own challenge. Did that powerbomb notice? That was fun. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, and I think Obafemi is fantastic, and he's only going to get better. And I wouldn't mind seeing him be Danhausen's mystery partner, but that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so. That would be kind of funny, though.
Just let him beat the crap out of Miz and Kit Wilson, and then Danhausen tags himself in, and boom.
We also had the Creed brothers are now going to go by Los Americanos Hermanos. We got 2 more Americanos.
That feels like it's a year too late, doesn't it?
At least a few months too late. When he came back, and it was like, okay, Chad Gable's original El Grande Americano, they probably should have just already done that.
Yeah, they should have had them ready to go. But, if it gets them in the ring, okay, because I'm really tired of people just literally doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I like this gimmick, but,
they're sitting around literally doing nothing, like you said. Like, if anything, they were wrestling on main event, which nobody fucking watches.
That's why I'm a fan of, the bait and done doing this angle, because it's literally better than them sitting around.
I don't see anything else actually worth talking about from Raw. Or that we didn't already get into. So I guess let's move into NXT. A couple things that are interesting there. And I'll give them credit for this. NXT's not great in a lot of ways, but they always do keep things interesting. And there are a lot of people that are gunning for that NXT championship and all right now. Avion Heights at the beginning of the show was attacked by Tony D'Angelo. Later on, they end up having a match, and that goes the way you expect that it would. Tony D'Angelo retains that title. He gets attacked by the guy that we were introduced to last week, and they didn't have a name for him. Now they do have a name for him. Because Will Cruz ends up cutting a little promo to the camera and saying that he is Mason Brook. So there goes that name that we were saying probably would make sense to go along with him. But on top of that, we also know the name for Evil. And as much as everybody was assuming he would be Nox Raijin, and even people reporting that this was confirmed and such, he is actually Naruku, which apparently means either Underworld or Hell or something along those lines. I think that's kind of a decent enough name. I think that's it serves its purpose. If you want to have a one-name short thing like that, I never thought that Evil was a good name, to be honest. But Naruku, sure. Will Cruz is Mason Rook. It's those generic ass names. Sure, why not? But how do you guys feel about this? Now we got the Evil out of the New Japan side of things. What's the era of Naruku going to be for you guys?
Well, it'll be better for Callum because he's not going to be watching. I like the name a lot just because it's a one-name thing, and I had been talking about wanting to maybe go back to that. And it's better going from Evil to this than Evil to Nox Raijin. As far as Mason Rook, yeah, it checks out. To me, it's no different in terms of star power than Will Cruz, even though I like the way he spells Cruz. I give him credit for that. But I think he's going to be awesome. He's getting a lot of flack right now for his look. That's because people suck. But I think he's going to be awesome. And not only because from what I've seen of him, he's great, but John Cena just keeps celebratorily talking about this man. And, that cannot work out in a negative way for you.
That's going to be John Cena's game-changing announcement on Backlash. He's going to be like, Mason Rook has already been promoted to the main roster.
Yeah, and I'm putting Mason Rook on the main roster. They said I could have one thing. I chose this.
Yeah, I mean, the name Mason Rook is totally fine. It's one of those ones where you don't feel embarrassed reading it out and feel like, that sort of sentiment they would do. Like, can you imagine Mason Rook being a WrestleMania main eventer? It's like, yeah, probably can. It's a fine enough name to be a WrestleMania main eventer. And yeah, I think the look is unique. And not everyone should just be the same generic 6-8 pack, muscle-bound wrestler. You should have some people that are just built differently. So that's cool. I think that's with Evil Naruka. Is it Naruka, you said?
Naruku.
Naruku, sorry. Naruku. I don't feel a huge fan of the one name approach with that. I think he probably should have a surname, or the first name. I don't know which way they would go about it with that one. But because I don't know, it feels like it's been bitten too many times with the way they treat Japanese wrestlers. That it feels like, they treat wrestlers with a first name and surname from Japan bad, but it just feels like, is this another Funaki or Tajiri or something mysteriously different, because that was his name on the other side of things as well. But
Hakushi didn't last all that long, and
Hakushi, and they wanted to make the guy that ended up being Kenta Suzuki. They wanted to name him Hirohito at the start of his run as well. So
boy, is that bad. Yeah, that was bad on a different level.
Yeah, what I say is I hope if they are going with this the more horror aesthetic thing, I hope they keep him away from that executive that apparently really hates all the horror stuff in WWE. Because he'll go up to the main roster and then say what's this guy doing with the goth makeup on? He's got to be released immediately.
We need to give him a last name, but we need to make it a little less dark because he's going to be Naruku Jones. And he said he's going for the NXT Championship. Of course, we know that Mason Rook is going after and all, and they're resetting the roster a little bit here and there. One of the ways to do that, Callie Armstrong beats Jada Parker. Natty shows up to call Jada Parker soft, And I'm very curious if this is just one of those one-off things where they decided we're not doing anything with Natty right now, let's just move her there, or if this is something where maybe she's part of one of the groups of taking the pay cuts, and maybe they were like, well, we want to use you more in NXT going forward. But I will say this, as far as the I told you so's, told you so, Natty being this Natty gimmick was not going to end up doing anything more than the usual 3-week push that she gets. They do not want to push Natty. It's as simple as that, and it's not going to happen anymore. So, as many times as she wants to do the different gimmick of whatever variation of I'm tough now and I'm going to kick everybody's ass and I'm a legend or whatever, WWE refuses to let that go anywhere. And she's somebody that I'm assuming would be a lifer that they would probably be like, yeah, we're going to phase you out and stuff. Not saying I would do it, I'm not condoning it or anything like that. I think that Natty has been crapped on for the majority of her career in WWE, and I wouldn't have pushed her to be a 20-time champion, but at the same time, I would have given her more leeway than they ever gave her. But maybe we start seeing Natty in NXT a little bit more. That could be a good spot for her. She's certainly not going to be winning any of the championships on the main roster.
First of all, I would have pushed her to be a 20-time champion over the people that were on the roster during the first half of her career.
I'm not going to argue against you on that one, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think this is a net positive. Like, she wants to work with people and help them further along. Jada Parker trains at the dungeon. She wants to help, give her more experience in front of an audience. This is a good move. Would I have at least given Natalya the women's IC title? Yes. Am I shocked that it probably isn't going to happen? No. I hope that she does get to make the most of whenever they give her at this stage in her career.
How would you feel about her winning the TNA Knockouts title?
Should have happened.
What about you, Callum?
Do you really want me to bring this up again? Do you really want me to just say that Natty's crap and has always been heavily overrated for just being a pretty okay wrestler with no character or personality whatsoever?
Hence my original comment about first half of her career based on who was on the
She's
roster.
lucky she's still fucking got a job at this point in her career. What are you talking about? All the cuts they've done, all this over this period of time, she's still someone who just clings on to stuff. She's just got a famous last name. That's everything. That's it.
And that goes a long way in WWE. Look at half the roster.
Yeah, I know, but that's like it's like.
I mean, it works less when you're a female on the roster, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, well, actually,
That's not true. It's still on the roster. Like, it works out great when you've got a famous last name.
Yeah, so I just think that I sometimes like Jess will go over the top of it, but I just don't think that it gets to a certain point that maybe she should have held more titles earlier in her career, but she's now like I just don't think she's very good anymore. I don't think she's been very good for about five plus years. She's just kind of there, and then she's now doing this new big well, I say new, it's been around a year now of doing the Natty gimmick. It's like okay, like there's women in WWE nowadays that lack you in terms of ability, and now you're being the real wrestler. It's like, it's not 2008 anymore.
I think it's clear that both she and Tyson Kidd are doing people in the industry all around a great service with the dungeon stuff, and I think that will likely be her legacy over anything she's done on TV.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay.
And they could end up signing her to some sort of deal where, I mean, I've been saying for years, I've been waiting to hear them say something along the lines of like Natty, some kind of performance center coach. Eventually that works out for some people, it doesn't work out for other people. At one point I was like, clearly Drew Gulak is going to be one of those, and he fucked that all up. And then
he missed handshaking class.
I thought that the same could eventually apply to Andre Chase. Nope.
I was like, she should be a player coach. She should have been in a player coach role for like years at this point. Like, he does certainly have the experience and the training ability to like help people coming forward. I was like, she seemed like a perfect choice to be someone who, either on the main roster or on NXT, is just there to help enhance people through her in-ring ability. Which is, I don't think is as great as she used to be by any stretch of the imagination, but she has the good fundamentals enough to help people through, and she's been in an experienced position. Like, better than just having some wrestlers be like some no-name jobbers for every single week moving forward. At least like entering like a 2-3 week feud with Natty does lend a little bit more credibility to whoever the wrestler is. So, but yeah, that's like I don't think she should ever be fighting for titles or really prominently featured anymore. That she's just like I think that you need to move into the next generation at this point.
She's somebody that I think that like it would be pretty obvious if they were just be like, okay, well, let's give Soul Worker somebody to work with for a little bit. Soul Worker beats her, then moves her way up to somebody like Becky and all. One other person, and the other talking point from NXT to talk about though, speaking about people being around the roster for as long as they've been, Noam Dar is back. We haven't seen him in a year. It was June 6th, I believe, if I remember correctly from the last report that I did, of last year, where he went down with an injury on like a speed match against somebody, I forget who, and hasn't been seen since. Like we talked about before about the whole metaphor being like, hey, we were all finally back. Fuck half of you. And then the other half is going to be injured, and then on the main roster, it's Dora Mensah gets sent away, Char Jackson gets sent away, Noam Dar gets injured, and then Lashes, doing some good stuff over on SmackDown and all. But Noam Dar comes back, immediately starts picking a fight with the Vanity Project, and seemingly aligns himself up with Romeo Moreno, who I don't know if he is getting hot-shotted straight to the NXT roster or not, but they never confirmed anything about Mr. Iguana either, so I think that they're in kind of a holding pattern right now where they want to announce certain people as being part of the NXT roster, and then other people are being kind of just swapped in and out on a random basis. But Noam Dar, back. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised. I've liked Noam Dar in the past, but he's been injury-prone, and he's somebody from fucking NXT UK. How many people are still around from NXT UK, They must really like Noam Dar. Which probably means that the NXT Heritage Cup's going to come back, because it always just comes back with it.
Well, I was half expecting you to say, and he found the Heritage Cup, and now he's the champion again.
I was half expecting that to happen too, because he said something, and I don't remember what it was, but he said something in his comeback thing where he was like, oh, you know what I just found, or you know what I just did, or something like that. I was like, oh, please tell me he's just going to be like, I really want that fucking trophy back.
I would have given them a lot of credit. That would have genuinely made me laugh. I like Noam Dar. I think he's good. It's clear he's injury prone or has had a rotten string of luck in that way, but he can find my new mentality with everything is, if you're going to keep him, use him. So I'm very glad he's back on TV and healthy and being used.
So if you're interested in Noam Dar, tune into next week's episode because he's going to go up against Jackson Drake. Jackson Drake, who, if anybody's curious how my wife reacts to certain people, she's not familiar with Jackson Drake, but when she saw his part on screen, immediately went, ew, 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 ew. Why is he doing the look maxing thing? Like, well, it's part of the Vanity Project. I mean, he's,
Yeah, like that's literally the gimmick. They're all doing that. And,
she's like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Okay.
I'm not shocked that she might call them unseasoned chicken.
That is one of her go-to insults, right?
But I will say, because I saw this clip, I like them being paired with Lockwood.
Shout out to Megan Lockwood with her body slam on Jasper Troy. Feat of strength.
I'm a fan of that idea, and I hope it works out well.
It is so funny, though, how often we can repeat the phrase, Shawn Michaels and Triple H book Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Like, hey, I was there when China was there. Do that. Like, it's just, hey, does somebody want a diesel? I can do a diesel.
We'll even call you Big Mommy Cool. That's funny. So let's round things out with the Dynamite and Collision episodes that went down. It was a 3-hour edition, which was half of what the Collision episode is going to be. The other half being Fairway to Hell, popping up on Saturday. And as I mentioned before, they started off the episode with a tribute to Ted Turner, which I mentioned here and there throughout the episode. Not to talk about every single thing that happened, just like the other stuff, but some noteworthy things that did happen. Orange Cassidy defeated Dax Harwood, so that means that as per their stipulation for the Double Jeopardy scenario, if whoever wins, they would get a shot at the other one's tag team titles, whether it's the World Tag Team titles or the Trios titles. So conglomeration, 2 of those are going to get a shot at the men's duo as opposed to trio tag team titles, which I assume we're all in the same boat. They're not going to win, but I was a little surprised about that. I assumed that Harwood and Wheeler and Tommaso Ciampa were going to get the win in that run.
It's a little surprising. I think that, like, to a degree, it's protecting Cassidy as the singles guy in the group, winning against the tag team guy in Dax Harwood. So I feel like that's probably more of the reason why they got the win. And I presume it'll probably be he'd probably go Red Dragon as the team to take on FTR for the titles. So Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, but it'll be a good match. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
It does seem weird that you planted the idea that, hey, Ciampa's with them, just to be like, but we're not going to use that yet. But yeah, I think it'll be a good match.
We have a new match booked for the upcoming Double or Nothing event, which, again, we'll talk about when we get to the pay-per-view and give our full-blown predictions, but we don't have the full scope of it. All we know is that Chris Jericho won a match against Ricochet in the Demand, and that turned into a challenge for a Stadium Stampede match. So the Demand are going to still need 2 more people on their team. Chris Jericho needs 4 people on his team. 2 of them seem to be Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, who, if I remember correctly, and if I heard it correctly, was referred to as Benjamin Shelton on the episode. I think it was Tony Schiavone. That's a little strange.
Well,
It would be Shawnee, so.
we're paying tribute to the Hulkster, brother. Like,
Benjamin Shelton, you know? Who do you guys think are going to be the other members of those teams?
Tough to predict. Like, I imagine just because of Jericho's history with Don Callis, it'll be 2 members of the Don Callis family on Ricochet's team. And so that probably points me towards either RPG Voice or maybe Lance Archer and someone. But other than that, I can't really think of who else really fits the bill. I mean, actually, that just clicked in my mind. What if it's Big Bill and Brian Cave as one of the teams? Ideally on the opposite side.
yeah, I imagine they're going to be picked regardless. I hope it's opposite Jericho. But my brain also just goes, Sammy Guevara is there, and it's a Jericho story, and this man somehow always gets involved in the Jericho story, so we'll see if he ends up on one of the sides. I'm not big on this Jericho, Hurt Syndicate, the man holding pattern thing. I'm not super crazy about it, and it does feel like one of the first Stadium Stampedes where you're just doing it to do it, as opposed to like, well, you've at least built up this rivalry. And if I had to guess, I'm expecting a lot more hoopla and haha to this one than the usual, all right, the Death Riders are going to bleed everywhere kind of Stadium Stampede.
Those are the 2 other members of Jericho's team.
I think we're going to fucking do that. Be less predictable, please.
In terms of the other 2 members of Jericho's team, it's difficult to really see who fits into the same bracket as him and the Hurt Syndicate. So I don't think they'll just throw DD into it.
Wait, isn't it just going to be the Jurassic Express? Don't they still hate Ricochet?
As Luchasaurus, they able to compete.
Yeah, I don't know where he can compete right now.
He can drive a bus and try to run Ricochet over the bus.
I don't know if it's like Cesaro even healthy at the moment, because like he hasn't been appearing in Ring of Honor or anything for a while. So I don't know if he'd be able to compete if that was the idea to put him in. But he could be. I don't know if it's someone that like Jericho has a history with that would join him. I could anticipate it being some members of the conglomeration, because like obviously they're not winning the titles unless they're defending the trio titles at Double or Nothing. There might be something for some of their members to do. Unless it is like the idea that it's just going to be the full Hurt Syndicate with those 3, and then because they've been talking about recruiting another member, so maybe it's like those 3 and the new Hurt Syndicate member.
Based off of the ops recruiting people, I mean that Max Caster's going to be part of that syndicate.
Well, it just depends on whether you think that the Hurt Syndicate is incompetent as the ops are.
I don't know. I mean, they've been gone for a while. Both factions are just sort of like, yeah, so we're just going to take some breaks and we're going to recruit people, but not actually recruit anybody in the meantime. It's weird to me that the Hurt Syndicate are teaming with Jericho, because I wouldn't imagine that they would be, but it is more of a scenario of like screw the Demand rather than like being like pro Jericho. Thankfully, it's not in their Jericho Appreciation Society at least.
Yeah,
I'm assuming they'll just throw whoever in there. Like maybe it'll be them, maybe it'll be Jet Speed, and then it'll lead to like Ricochet trying to go after the Kevin Knight's title or something.
Yeah, because then they'll do the Golden Jet Speed or the Golden Jets.
I mean, Brian Keefe, you mentioned the whole idea of Brian Keith and Big Bill. Brian Keith had a random match against Kazuchika Okada, and now Okada's going after the world title, which let's talk about all the world title things going on. Darby Allin retained over Kevin Knight, and then not only does he have a match against Kazuchika Okada, but he also has a match against Pac, and he also has a tentative match against MJF, where now we know what MJF needs to put on the line. His hair. They addressed the Dynamite Diamond ring. I thought it was funny that he was like, fine. I'll put my scarf on the line. It's a good scarf. It's like, wow, what a deal. He offered $1 million. Darby Allin said no, and it ultimately comes down to, I want you to shave your head if you lose. So I guess he's doing another treatment over in Turkey or whatever, and needs to do, some kind of shave the head scenario for that, which completely changes my mind about everything, because I was assuming that this would be a means for MJF to win the title back. Now I don't think that that's the case.
What the hell are you talking about? You think MJF is going to shave his head?
Yeah.
No. MJF is winning.
I think this is the beauty of the whole thing, is that now, because even though I kind of advocate for the idea of it being a doing the same stipulation as Hangman, saying that I'll never challenge for the world title if I lose, the issue with that being that it makes it obvious that MJF's going to win. Whereas this, now we're completely on two different sides of it. Like, this is the perfect stipulation, because it makes sense for MJF's character to be completely obsessed with his look and worried about losing his hair, and Darby knowing that and using that as the borrowing chip to get the title match booked and put in place. And so, it means that either approach is actually very viable, because who knows whether if it takes like any kind of treatment he needs to lose hair, or he has a movie role lined up where he needs to lose his hair. Like, there are definitely realistic scenarios where MJF needs to have his hair cut and very soon, and they might just be put into a storyline, or it could be just a perfect red herring to say like, oh, he's actually going to win the match, win the title back, but there was at least a realistic scenario posed in the opposite direction. So yeah, I think this works very well, and I don't agree at all with people who are saying this is an underwhelming stipulation for Darby to ask for. I think it makes total sense for the vanity that MJF displays for him to be worried about losing his hair.
To be clear, I'd like to be wrong, but I never saw Darby as a long-term champion.
Same here, and I mean, if he continues the I'm going to fight for the championship until the wheels fall off concept, realistically, the way that he wrestles, he's not going to be able to have a match like this every single week for 9 months straight. He's going to end up being, needing to take a little bit of a break here and there. But I do think that there's a scenario where MJF shaves his head, so I'm curious about that. I think that's an interesting enough story.
I think there's a chance. Like, there's definitely not as clear-cut prediction. I still think that MJF will win the title, but I'm definitely far less certain of it now. And even if it makes me feel like, if he does retain the title, does he just lose it on the next episode of Dynamite, or does he just continue with these open challenges until he does eventually lose to some person we don't expect him to lose it to?
And that's all I got for things I feel like we need to talk about. Anything else you guys want to talk about for hot takes?
In terms of anything else from Dynamite, I don't think there's anything like super necessary. We could like throw out predictions for the Fairway Tale, because we've got obviously Darby Allin against Pac. We'll probably say Darby Allin's going to retain the world title against Pac because he's got a match for Okada and then a match with MJF to look forward to. Jack Perry's defending the national title against Mark Davis.
If it was anybody else, then I think there would be a switch.
I think there's a very good chance of a switch.
Really?
Yeah, because they have already had a match with Jack Perry retained the title, but Mark Davis has done a lot since then. Like, he beat Will Ospreay, he's been positioned in a lot more of a top mid-card guy in recent weeks, so I think there's a very good chance that he wins the title from Jack Perry. I still would give the edge to Perry retaining, but I think that it's like a 55-45 situation, and I wouldn't be either against or surprised if they put the title on Davis.
I'd assume that if it was Andrade, or if it was Takeshita, or if it was maybe
what level do you think the national title is?
I don't know, because they have 4 mid-card belts.
We're allowed to have a European title. Like, okay, sometimes I think you get in your head about the rankings. This is like the European title.
Mm-hmm. And it could go to somebody like Davis, but I would be more inclined to assume that it was somebody that's a bigger deal. Like, Davis to me strikes me as a guy that Tony Khan probably liked in their match and was just kind of like, yeah, I want to see another one.
I do think something will happen here to try to. It is going head-to-head with Backlash. So they'll do something. Even if it's just, you gotta go out of your way to see Darby Allin against Pac. Like, something big enough will happen where it's like, we need to see this show.
The only other thing they have listed is that the Divine Dominion of Lina Cross and Nick Bang will have a non-title match on the show. So, and they haven't listed who their opponents are, so I imagine it'll just be some local competitors. And they'll win. But, they're a good tag team, so it's nice to see them just destroy people.
Yeah, nothing else that they've announced here, right? Just those matches?
They're the only free match.
That is live, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's live on. Yeah, I'd be interested to see the way that it's shot, because it's just an interesting venue to be doing this from, so.
Well, of course, February to hell if anything happens on there. We'll talk about that. We got Backlash. We got a Triple A show. Kind of a packed Saturday night at that point. But the only thing I'm going to be doing post-show for is going to be Backlash. So that is going to be the next thing you're going to be hearing from me on. It's that pay-per-view point post-show. Keep in mind, though, all the things mentioned before, all this marketplace stuff, all the things like, if it's, if you're on YouTube, do the YouTube stuff. If you're elsewhere, do other things. But if you want to just follow everything under a mango tree, go to anthonymango.com to find the links to everything over there. Follow Rob Callum, too.
Yep, you can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice, and if you want to check out more stuff from me, check out Insider Gaming. Don't forget the Insider Gaming Showcase is taking place on Thursday, May 28th, and there will be lots of world premiere games and a ton of fun stuff to take a look at, so hopefully some people from here will join me over there.
You can follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, at WeekMeister14. Check out the Power Rankings every single Saturday over on SmackDown.com. I rank the WWE Superstars based on their previous week's performances. And while you're over there, the Fantasy League kicks off at Backlash for this latest season. So you can check out who picks up points from this show and then every other show moving forward between now and next year's WrestleMania. So yeah, just keep following that along. So we'll keep you updated to like any trades and any other bits and pieces as the weeks progress. So yeah, be there at the very start at WWEFantasyLeague.com.
That's going to do us in for the hot tags. So, as per usual, everybody, drop your thoughts in the comment section below and tell us what you think about these topics, and we will roll along next week with another round of the hot tags, which may be on another night. I haven't figured out exactly what my travel situation is yet. I don't think that's on Friday, so I might end up doing that like Thursday or something.
But what you're saying is you're going to get home and you're going to do a live stream of your thoughts while watching Ring of Honor, the pay-per-view.
At the same time as SmackDown?
Yes.
Unlikely. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Call the place for Friday, but Backlash is next. That'll happen tomorrow, so we'll see you there, everybody. But for now, this has been another SmackDown moment, and we are being counted out.